Welcome to the World Awaits.
Travel tales to inspire your wanderlust.
Welcome back to the World Awaits. I hope you all had a wonderful week. How's yours been, Belle?
Madness, because as we record this, I'm about to fly out to South Africa. I know it's a bit of a time travel thing. And look, while it's not my first time, it's been a while since I've been back. I always feel that South Africa's a lot closer than what it is, because we're both Southern Hemisphere countries. But 4 to 4.5 hours to Perth, and it's 11.5 to Joburg, and a short 2.5 hours down to Cape Town. So it's a schlep. But I'm flying with South African Airlines. I will report back to how they perform. So I just spent the last few days organising my malarial tablets, sunscreen, because apparently sunscreen is not great and it's expensive in South Africa. Hot tip. Locking down safari itineraries and getting my eSIM organised. So, jump along on my Instagram, global_salsa, and for some safari pics and possibly me running amok in Cape Town.
I cannot wait to hear about this trip and see. I've never been to South Africa, and my husband has a lot of family who live in Joburg, and I would love to go. I live vicariously through them. So anyway, I can't wait to see. And you're going with your brother, and I think that's so lovely. It's going to make such a gorgeous experience. So yeah, I just can't wait to watch you. So yeah, go and follow Belle on @global_salsa. And as we go to air, I'm also in the depths of the Marlborough Sounds. I haven't been back to the Marlborough region, or actually the South Island of New Zealand, for like 20 years, probably longer. So I cannot wait to get back there. I did this exact bike hike kayak that I'm going to be doing when I was working for Tourism New Zealand in my 20s. So I'm so excited about it. It's always been, to me, one of them, probably the most beautiful place and underrated place, part of New Zealand. I mean, lots of people do that golden route, where they go Auckland, Rotorua, Wellington, Christchurch, down to Queenstown. But this part of the South Island, the very top it's sort of the top on the east coast, is just spectacular. Those sounds are just absolutely mind-blowingly beautiful. And also, I am going to have some really exciting news on my crime manuscript, which hopefully by the time this airs, I might have blasted all over socials. So you follow me at Kirsty Writes, which is WRITES, and you can find out. So yeah, keep tabs on us and see what we're up to.
Well, that is super exciting. I can't wait to hear the news. I'm expecting that you're going to tell me rather than let me find out on socials. So I want a personal screeching call. So kicking off this week, let's jump into the pod. Money.com research has revealed that Aussies are saving big using frequent flyer points. This is kind of interesting, right? So we thought we'd take a look into the research and show you how you can save using frequent flyer points. And I've got to say, I need this information as much as anybody does.
Yeah, and I'm actually about to do just this, because we're going, I've just locked in a trip to go to Puglia, and oh my gosh, I've been manifesting going to Puglia for such a long time. And everyone that listens knows how much I love cycling around, because we did Sardinia a couple of years ago. So cannot wait to go cycling. We're going to cycle around the whole heel, which is just going to be incredible. But I'm using my velocity points. And we actually have enough now to get a return flight. So that's great, particularly given the price of flying to Europe right now, which is, about 2,500, if not more. So this research found Aussies over the last year saved on average about $1,140 on travel and accommodation costs using frequent flyer points.
And 14% reported savings above $2,000. Amazing on flights and accommodation. That's an astonishing saving. Money.com.au's finance expert Sean Callery says that for the most part, saving in the 4 figures through frequent flyer points is a decent return. I'd say it is. And it can effectively cover the cost of an adult plane ticket or thereabouts, which is exactly what you're doing, isn't it, Kirsty?
Yeah. And he says the aim is to extract more value from the points than you're paying in card fees. So an average frequent flyer credit card in Australia costs around $300 a year in fees. So you just need to be confident that you're getting enough value from the points to justify the cost. And he says the biggest value trends to come from redeeming points on flights or cabin upgrades are on flights and cabin upgrades, which would otherwise cost obviously far more if you had to pay for them.
I'm just going to jump in on that fees point because if you've got finance, you've got those $300 fees to keep those credit cards. You can negotiate with your bank if you've got something like a bank. If you've got a house loan, your home loan is with that same bank that you've got the credit card. Then you can often you'll find that they will bring those fees down on the credit card because you are already a customer with the bank. So that's a little hot financial tip I've got for you there. But he also says that the research showed that a quarter of Australians are saving their frequent flyer points for future travel rather than redeeming them straight away. And I fall into this camp. So holding out for long haul trips, peak travel periods, or for higher value redemption. I'm just huddling them all together. I mean, Qantas is a tricky one because they've just devalued their points. But
but hello, let's talk about the huddle. This huddle's been going on for a very long time. You have like 3 times the amount of points that
I know, but the problem is that I'm not traveling to places that those airlines are flying to. So that is like, I'm just not on the places, I can't redeem them because I'm going on some weird joint where only, like Sri Lankan flyers or something like that. So I can't redeem them. It's going to happen. I'm going to do it like a standard route to London or somewhere like that. I'm going to do it in business. And
you'll get first when
first.
You've got
I'm manifesting first like it's going out of fashion. I've never flown first, have you?
No, I haven't.
Have you flown first class?
No, I haven't. My husband has. He got upgraded once when he used to fly a lot for work. But no, I haven't. I have never flown.
My husband got upgraded once because a guy had a heart attack and they said, "Is there a doctor on board?" And the two of them got upgraded, and the guy was fine. The guy was okay after a while, but every time they came to check on him, they'd be like, "Shh, lie down and look sick," because they didn't want to get back. Okay, all right, let's go back into the research, Kirsty. So back into the research, it's millennials and Gen X that squeeze the most value from travel points. Oh, millennials and Gen X emerged as the biggest winners, saving an average of $1,220 over a year through frequent flyer point redemptions, whereas Gen Z saved just over $1,000 on average. Baby boomers, sorry, you are dragging the chain. You were recorded lower than average savings of $980, which is still nothing to be sneezed at, is it?
No, absolutely not. And flights remain the most common way Australians redeem their frequent flyer points. That's what I'm doing. With half using points for airfares in the last year, almost 1 in 3 Aussies used points for a mix of flights and accommodation, and about 20% for accommodation only. And you can find out more at money.com.au, and we'll put a link in the show notes. This week, I'm chatting to D'Etta and Yael of the Hotel History podcast, who cover all the sordid and scandalous details of famous hotels.
Oh, so is it only the sordid details they cover, like Sex Pistols trashing the hotels? Is that what we're talking about?
There is that, but they also look at the history of hotels and their interplay with culture, society, politics, and even psychology. It was just fascinating to hear their stories about some of these hotels that they have talked about on their podcast. And they do also write a sort of semi-monthly travel newsletter on Substack called The Check-In. So take a listen. Welcome to the show, D'Etta and Yael. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for having us.
It's so nice to have you both on The World Await. So we're going to start by tell us a little bit about your backgrounds and how you sort of came to be friends and colleagues.
Should I start?
Yeah.
Okay. So I met D'Etta. We met at a job we both had in 2019. We both were working how do you describe our job? We were teaching conversational English to Japanese exchange students. And I basically was like, I like you. You're my friend now.
It was a bit of a hostage situation for sure.
Yeah. But you loved it. You loved it. She gave me a ride home and I'm like, you're cool. And now you're my friend. And then we've been friends. And a few years ago, I had this idea for this podcast, and I'm like, hey, would you be down to do it with me? Because we already had ideas. We wanted to work together before that too. We had a little like business idea that did not work out because of COVID. And so I was like, obviously I'm gonna go to D'Etta with this idea I have about hotel history. And I because I'm from New York, I constantly am going to different like New York City landmarks, and growing up I got to go to the Plaza Hotel a lot, just to like go into their bathroom. And I ended up just learning about all these random facts about it. And I was talking, oh my God, I was talking to my friend or my cousin. I'm like, did you know this and this? And she's like, you should start a podcast because there's a lot you talk about hotels. And we realized that there really is a gap in podcasts about the history of hotels. There's a lot of haunted hotels podcasts, but not a lot about just the history and how it encompasses way more than ghosts and all that stuff. So that's just a little bit about how that started.
Nice. And so what was your background? What were you doing before you were you met?
Yeah, Elle and I both seem to be the type of people that are interested in a lot of different things, and so we've done a lot of different things. So my background was in I had recently moved to LA whenever I met her, and I was coming from journalism, and I'm also a musician, so I was coming out of performance. And so when Yael approached me about doing this, it really kind of felt kind of weird, like a weird perfect niche for me, because I was very much missing performing, and I thought, well, this is just a different form of it that I haven't tried before, so this sounds new and really fun. And then, of course, being able to do the research for all of it sort of filled that need for writing and journalism. So that was really why it was such a perfect fit for me.
Yeah, I feel like we both found something in it that fulfills like our creativity.
Mhm.
And before this, I mean, I've worked in a lot of different areas, but like I would say I'm an artist first, and I've done all kinds of different artistic things. And now I take it a little bit more serious where I'm like, yeah, I consider myself an artist. But before that, growing up, I wanted to be in fashion. So I've only always been like creative, and I loved history. And then I also was in hospitality. So all over the place. And this kind of like taps on every single thing I've ever done.
Yeah, it definitely does. It's an amazing creative outlet. I agree with you, and a great topic to cover, really. So, tell us a bit about some of the most unusual stories that you've heard and had on your podcast.
Ooh.
Where to begin? There's so many. Um, for unusual, I think probably recently we talked about the Lodge at Marconi, which is this very interesting hotel, boutique hotel at a state park in California, about an hour north of San Francisco. And it was felt so quintessentially Californian once we found out about it, because of course in the 70s on its property was a cult. And you just can't really think about California without, for some reason, thinking about a cult at some point in history. So that was really, and they are very open about it and very embracing of their history, which is great. We always love when hotels actually say, yes, this happened here and let's talk about it. So learning all about what a crazy time in the 60s and 70s it was for that particular property was really interesting.
So what was the cult? Tell me a bit about the cult at that hotel. What was it? What was it all about? What were they doing?
Well, it started out in Santa Monica, right? And it started as like a rehabilitation for drug addicts. And then it kind of developed into something more. It became like a commune and a community, and they moved from Santa Monica to Marconi. Um, and it started with good intentions, but like all things, It got weird at a certain point.
Once money got involved a
But,
little too
yeah.
much, as usual, it became more about the power and the control. The name of the cult was Synanon, and eventually they became the Church of Synanon because they needed to be a church so that they didn't have to pay taxes, and which is a fairly common thing for cults to do, I think. Until eventually the government really started investigating them and said, "No, actually, no. You're not a religious movement. You're just laundering money." So it fell apart.
There's a few documentaries on it too. So it was like pretty well known.
Wow.
Other cults.
Yeah. Any others that were really particularly unusual?
There's so many like random stories. Every hotel has you're like, how is that a thing? You know what I'm thinking about, D'Etta, the 1886 Crescent Hotel?
Oh, yes. This is one
That
of what we did for our Halloween episodes.
Yeah, so this hotel used to be a hospital, and we say hospital in quotes for a reason. Basically some guy who had an interest in medicine and not real medicine, like pseudoscience. He decided he has a cure for cancer, and he made up this concoction and injected it in people, and like it's crazy. There's like so much more to it, but it wasn't. It was like made up ingredients. Like he was like, oh, clove leaf, and I don't even know what was in it. What was it that the carbonic? I'm not saying that right.
It had
Carbonic acid.
a pretty nasty acid in it that's
Yeah,
very, very bad for you to ingest. And like pomegranate seeds. Like it was
yeah.
ridiculous. But yeah, he ran this cancer center in this what's now a hotel for a couple of years before he finally had to shut it down because he had already been being chased by the feds, I think.
Yeah, he was definitely a fraud, and but what's cool is they say that's like the most haunted hotel in the U.S. But they say that about every hotel. So hotels claim a lot of things. They're the oldest and the most haunted, and we're like, okay, we don't know about that.
But you're covering hotels all over the world, right? So what are some hotels that you've covered in some really unusual places?
There is the Giraffe Manor in Africa that is on a nature reserve, and you can preserve, and you can actually have giraffes just strolling about the place, and they'll come and put their head in the window for a treat and a scratch and things like that. I believe that one's in Kenya. That one is really high up on the list for us to visit.
Oh yeah.
Um, being able to go to a place like that that's actually doing something good in addition to their hospitality is really cool.
And what was their history?
That one, it actually doesn't have a very long history. We covered theirs when we were doing an episode on just strange and surprising hotels that you wouldn't expect to find. So that one is more on the level of hotels that are making history now instead of having a history, because we try to hit it from both angles, because there are lots of hotels for sure that are doing different things that we think are going to be really important in the years to come.
Yeah, amazing. I love that. So what about some that have really shocked you? Their history's been quite shocking. What are their stories? And explain where they are.
We covered the hotel Carlton Hotel in Cannes, France. And apparently the architecture is based off of a courtesan's breast.
As all great architecture is,
Like, yeah, but it's just that is pretty like, oh, okay. Not like practical or just like the beauty, just, but that's something that I thought was really interesting. Something else that's shocking. I'm like blanking, but we covered a few hotels that are actually monasteries or used to be monasteries for our holiday episode. And that was really cool because there was one, I think, in Egypt and one in Ghent, Belgium. And we talk about a few others, but to hear that history and how some of them like hold crazy artifacts and people make pilgrimages to it. And the one in Egypt is like near Mount Sinai. Like it's insane that these places still exist. And then you hear, you read about the wars and the way these places were basically used as a refuge during all these different eras and wars and all that stuff. And that one always is like crazy that it still exists. I'm always shocked by those.
Yeah, and
I actually go. Yeah.
Speaking of wars, one that really shocked me was at the Savoy Hotel in London during World War II. The guests actually were able to continue kind of living a normal life during the Blitz that was happening in London at the time, because the hotel did such a good job of following blackout protocol that they actually, in the basement, basically turned it into a bomb shelter and still provided a dance floor so that the band could play and people could continue dancing the night away, even as the Blitz was happening outside all around them. So it's so shocking to think of doing that, but during a war, but also the need for that, the need to be able to keep living your life through such a difficult time. And it's stories like that that are so amazing.
Was the Savoy the one where they left a guy with a tin hat on the roof?
It
was that the Mayflower?
It might have been the Savoy. I can't remember for sure.
So during this time, to really secure their hotel, some hotels like were like, okay, they took a butler, whoever was working at the hotel. They're like, you hang out on the roof. Here's your protection. It was like a tin hat. And they're like, you keep out for those bombs and planes. Like, how is that going to help? That I always thought was funny.
They did their part.
They did their part. It was cute. It was cute.
It's so fascinating, isn't it, that the stories of, in really monumental times in history that like you said, like with the war, it's remarkable that these hotels was continued to operate and incredible. What about some of the funniest stories that you've heard in your time since you've been doing the podcast?
So one of my favorites is when we were doing the Mayflower Hotel, which is in Washington, D.C. It opened in the 1920s, and not long after it opened, they held this international convention, which was attended by delegates from all of these different countries. And at the time, it was very normal in European hotels to put your shoes out of the door at night. And in the morning, they would be back and they'd be shined and ready to go. But I guess this was not an American custom at the time. So all of these delegates did this, and all of the shoes got taken, but they didn't know what they were supposed to do with them. And so in the morning, instead of getting their shoes back, everyone got a note saying they could find their shoes in the grand ballroom, because that's where they just all been put once they realized that they didn't know what to do with these shoes. And they hadn't been like organized. So not only did all of these men have to go find their shoes, they were no longer together. They weren't paired anymore. So we're really going to just have to dig through this pile of shoes in the grand ballroom of the biggest hotel to open in quite a while.
Yeah, that was good. But my favorite is at the Plaza Hotel when John Lennon. So the Beatles were staying at the Plaza Hotel, and it caused mayhem, and there were like people outside and going crazy. And John Lennon wanted to go out and I guess see the world, but he wanted to put on a disguise, so he put on a ski mask, and apparently he was like hanging out with all the fans. Like they didn't know it was John Lennon. He was just like, I'm going out and see. And that I'm always interested in hearing stuff like that. Like, oh, they're just like us.
What were some of the other really interesting celebrity stories that you've come across?
Oh, there's a lot. There's so many.
Oh my goodness. One of my favorite recent stories that we learned about is that Ernest Hemingway loved the Ritz in Paris. And so during World War II, the Ritz was taken over by the Nazis, and that was their headquarters in Paris. And so in August of 1944, when the liberation of Paris began, Hemingway, who was supposed to be a war correspondent with the army, he was not a soldier. He was not fighting. He wasn't supposed to be anyway. He basically took a group of soldiers and said, "We're going to liberate the Ritz." And he took them to the Ritz. And the people at the Ritz said, "That's great. Actually, the Nazis already left, though, so we're all good." And he was like, "I don't believe you." And so he still took his soldiers with him through every floor of the hotel, trying to make sure that they weren't hiding anywhere. And he shot a bunch of sheets on the roof. And when he decided that, yes, he had liberated the Ritz, he went to the bar and ordered 50 martinis for him and his men and thought he had done his patriotic duty. So it's such an Ernest Hemingway story.
I love it. And have there been any stories that you've done, or talking to the people? Because I know, listening to your podcast, that you talk to a lot of the people who are running these hotels, that have actually made you go, right, I'm going to the hotel. Like, what's a hotel that you really want to go to that you haven't been to?
Oh, there's so many.
I would say probably Tribe Hotel in Nairobi, Kenya.
Why is that one that you want that's on your bucket list?
Well, first, it's just beautiful, but also it's not too far from an urban forest that apparently Nairobi has one of the largest urban forests in the world, if not the largest. And just so the story of that hotel is really cool. It is a younger hotel, but it's a family-run hotel started by a family who actually escaped the Iranian Revolution in 1979. So they have just a really interesting story and history, and it's really beautiful to see the way they have really embraced Nairobi as their home and been able to take this word tribe, that's actually kind of a dirty word in Kenya because of the region's politics, and turn it around and make it mean, family and home. And their whole thing is that everyone is our tribe. Humanity is a tribe, and that's what their whole thing is. It's beautiful.
Nice. I love it.
Because we did get to talk to the owner of Tribe, and that was really great. I would love to go to, there's a hotel in, I think, Scotland that has like an really old library, and you don't sleep in the library, but you sleep at the hotel, but you get to go to this like gorgeous old historical library after hours and like hang out and read all these books. And we covered it in one of our episodes, but I cannot remember the name. Do you remember the name, D'Etta?
I think it's the Gladstone that you're talking about.
Gladstone, yeah. That's definitely a place. Yeah.
Well, I mean, look, it's the time shot through so quickly, and I would love to chat with you some more about some of the hotels that you listen to, but we will put all the information in the show notes anyway, so people can go and listen. So we're going to finish by asking you the question we asked all of our interviewees. I don't know if you're going to answer this separately or individually, but it's entirely up to you. But what is the most bizarre thing that's ever happened to you on your travels?
So luckily, I'm probably lucky in that not too many bizarre things have happened. Most of my trips have been lots of fun and laughter, and nothing too bizarre. But there was one time that I was on a road trip with my friend through Louisiana, which I don't know if a lot of listeners know, but Louisiana is a state in the U.S. with a lot of folklore, and it's a very rural place. Can be very isolated, and it can be a little creepy. And so we were on this long road trip, and from basically through the entire state, from the top corner all the way down to the point of its boot, because we were going to New Orleans. And about every 50 to 100 miles, we would see an abandoned school bus. The first one we saw was in this open field with nothing for miles around. The next one was about halfway consumed in a swamp. And we just kept seeing these abandoned school buses. And we thought, who's putting these here? Why are these here? Like, this doesn't make any sense. And so we never could figure out why they were there or where they even came from. And it was just one of those very like creepy. Like, I don't want to look too far into that.
And no one ever told you?
No, we have asked some people, and no one has ever given us an answer.
You should Google it. Or is that like the bus driver neighborhood?
I don't know, because they were miles and miles apart. Maybe it was those people who were preparing for the apocalypse, and so they'll park vehicles with amounts of gas like within a certain distance from each other. Maybe it was something crazy like that.
What about you, Yael? What's yours been?
Okay, so when I was so my dad's Israeli, and for the first time when I went to Israel, I got to meet like my cousins I never met before. And I remember one time they were like, him and his friends are like, hey, we're so excited, we're gonna go to this lake. And it's really hot there. It's like the desert. And they were driving around trying to find this lake for like, I don't know how long. And of course, some of his friends, English is not their first language. And I'm like, where's this lake? They're like, we don't know. I'm like, oh my God, did the lake evaporate? And we figured out this lake just evaporated because it's so hot there that we were searching for this lake that just like didn't exist anymore. And I'm like, oh, I was just making a joke. And then we all were like laughing, and it was just like funny, like, oh, we're looking for this lake. Yeah, no, it doesn't exist anymore because it's so hot. But it existed like 2 weeks ago.
Oh, that's funny. Look, it's been so fun talking to you both, and we will put all the links in the show notes of where people can find you. But thank you so much for your time, and I'm sure people will be really interested to listen to your podcast.
Thank you so much
for having us.
How fascinating to hear about the hotel injecting people with acids. Oh my goodness. I can't believe this interview. You can hear more. If this has whet your appetite, you can hear more about the incredible stories behind famous hotels with D'Etta and Yael at the Hotel History podcast.
If you'd like to help support our production costs, you can buy us a coffee at coffee.com/theworldawaits. That's ko-fi.com/theworldawaits, so we can continue to bring you inspirational travel interviews with the world's best.
Our tip this week is from Southern Cross Travel Insurance, which has just completed its 2025 roundup of travel insurance claims, and the results come with some surprising warnings for holidaymakers.
Yeah, so the latest stats show the total number of medical and evacuation claims has increased by 17% since 2023, with the top 5 claims totaling around $1 million. I find this stuff really interesting, like what people claim, right? So one person's claim amounted to almost $500,000, and that was paid for a traveller holidaying in the US in their 50s who had an unexpected and serious illness and had to have a prolonged hospital stay. And increasingly, 29% of medical and evacuation claims were for Aussie travellers to Indonesia, which highlights obviously how essential travel insurance is when you're going there.
Yeah, a quick and dirty Bali getaway, put your travel insurance on it. But Southern Cross said claims resulting from monkey-related incidents, like let's keep Bali in mind here, claims from monkey-related incidents surged by 350% in the past 2 years. And while nearly 8% of these claims were medical claims relating to bites or scratches from monkeys, there are also several cases of theft by monkey. I can so identify with this. So in one case, a traveller reported a gang of monkeys breaking into their villa in Bali and stealing a mobile phone. Totally believable. Others have had sunglasses and prescription lenses snatched right off their faces. In another case, a child visiting the Ubud monkey forest, and I think quite a few of us have been to the Ubud monkey forest, was hit in the eye by a monkey, and required 2 rabies shots and a course of antiviral medications to combat potential rabies exposure. I mean, you're encouraged to sit there and get a photo with a monkey sitting beside you. I remember one year they stole my daughter's dummy, like it nicked her dummy, and they were just running around with it in their mouths because they'd been watching her, like, so we're like, never going to get that back, but it's nothing I would be claiming on insurance, right?
I got chased by a monkey, but lucky it didn't bite me. That was in Sri Lanka and at Taratanga Beach, which, oh my gosh, the resort down there is one of the most incredible places. It's so beautiful. But I was taking a photo, and the monkey obviously wasn't very happy about having its photo taken. And so it started chasing me up the hill, which my husband thought was just hilarious. And I was like just bolting up this hill to get away from this monkey because I was so scared it was going to attack me. Um,
And they do. I've got to say, in Bali, I've stayed in places in the jungle, like beautiful high-end luxury resort stuff, but they always say close your doors because you want to sleep with the doors open and have that experience. But they were like, close the doors and lock them because these giant, like monkeys the size of 6-year-olds sitting out on the balcony, looking inside at your stuff. And the same in Langkawi as well in Malaysia. They just come in and just ransack the joint, and they always crap in your suitcase.
Well, this was a little monkey, but it was still frightening to be chased by a small monkey because it was fast. And Southern Cross says there's also been a significant increase in the number of travellers being treated for flu, with the number of cases growing by about 85%, and also a more than 80% increase in people getting pneumonia. The most common medical-related claims were for gastro-related, I mean, that's not surprising, is it? Which have increased by 64% in the last couple of years. And the majority of these claims came from travellers in Indonesia and Thailand. And so those types of illnesses far outweighed other medical claims, including trips and falls and respiratory conditions, with the average claim cost for gastro reaching $1,565.
Wow. Okay. So Southern Cross also noted a 26% increase in the number of claims relating to slips, trips and falls, with costs associated with these claims increasing by 150% since 2023. And because we like to pull one out, these cases, in one case, a traveller visiting Kyrgyzstan fractured their hip due to a fall at a spa. Oof. And I thought they were going to fall off a pony or something. And they required surgery and hospitalization. And that total claim came to more than $70,000.
My God, it's just not worth it, is it? And this is the point. This is the whole point. This is the tip. So it's just not worth the risk of being out of pocket of like up to $100,000, or in that earlier case, $500,000, due to a slip. So you must travel with travel insurance, and I always do. What about you, Belle?
Yeah, I get an annual multi-trip policy, which usually covers all the entire family. And I think that's just the easiest way to go about it. Next week, I am taking you to South Africa. I know that I sound like I'm just flying there, but we are time travel at the moment. So I'm going to be telling you all about new Cape Town fabulousness and self-drive safaris in the Kruger National Park.
Yeah, and as we said earlier, make sure you follow Belle on global_salsa, because it'll be those images I just can't wait to see. No pressure, Belle. You're going to have to post a lot now. And and we'd love it if you followed us on our socials. You'll find us at The World Awaits Podcast on Instagram, Facebook and LinkedIn. And feel free to drop us a line, hello@theworldawaits.au. And if you're enjoying this episode, please give us a rating and review, because it really helps us in the rankings and we very much appreciate it.
That's a wrap for The World Awaits this week. Click to subscribe anywhere you listen to your favourite pods.
Thanks for listening. See you next week.